Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. And we're so very sorry that we're late. If this works, what I'm doing here now, if this works, it will be quite amazing because we've been spending the last almost hour, maybe even over an hour, trying to get things fixed. If you see movement to my right side here, it's Chris because I'm sitting in her seat. I'm using her computer to do this because my thing won't work. And anyway, here we are. So there are two of us. Would you like to say good morning, Chris? You're sitting right.
Morning.
She's like the little. Oh, where am I? She's like the little gnome. If I'm going to ask the question, can everybody see me and can everybody hear me? And we're hoping that there's no delay because that's been the issue. And excuse me, we do apologise for the background, but we're in a cubby hole. so, so we're all sort of squished up in a cubby hole. Now, Chris, from time to time, is going to be uh, having to uh, type in your questions or whatever, unless you want to give them to me, Chris. Read them and give them. I can't see
They
that.
can see and hear you. Everything is perfect.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Well, we're so very, very sorry for the delay, but here we are. Before we begin, of course, I would like to say good morning to Gregor, who, where has he been this morning? Oh, wait, no, because we did fix it. So, hey, we can't do very much about internet and internet issues. Maybe I just have to chuck out my iPad and get a computer. How about that? We could do that. I suppose we could do that. Anyway, enough of our worries. And I'd also like to say, did you say good morning, Chris? You did say good morning. Yes, we did. We did, Chris. We did, Grey Eagle. And oh, wait. Good morning to all of you. Do you like my crown, everybody? Is this the most beautiful crown? If I get, if I have to get ear, what are these headphones? I'm going to make sure that they are glittery and sparkly and definitely not these black ugly things. But anyway, you see, I'm just such a princess. Right. Now then, Chris, you can't point that to me because
If I
I
point,
can't see.
it means I want to say something to you that
Oh,
you will find
you
funny.
here, tap me on the
Okay.
tap. Just
Rosemary looks like an airplane pilot with the headset on.
oh, thank you so much. Who was that from?
That was from Cheryl.
Yeah, well, Cheryl, keep your opinions to yourself. Oh, golly, golly. Wouldn't you like to see me all glittered up and glammed up with a nice sort of, I wonder if they make them. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check on Amazon later. All right. So Chris is going to be interrupting from time to time because I'm as blind as a bat. I cannot see the chat room. Chris, you can see the chat room. So you need to just dive in. It's going to be an unusual show, everybody. It's going to be a very different show. But anyway, all right. So I started my morning off this morning, aside from, we're not going to deal with problems and issues. I started my morning off this morning with the most beautiful and gorgeous hug from a little 2 year old, 2.5 years old. She is little Mila from my neighbors next door, their granddaughter. Whenever she sees me, she giggles and she comes and gives me hugs, and she's lovely, lovely, lovely. So imagine that there you are, and you are, there you are, you're sort of having issues, you're having problems, and little girl comes, little fairy child comes running up to you, puts her arms around your legs and gives you a hug. It makes everything okay. So, all right. So, Chris, let's dive in because we've waited long enough. Do we have any questions or anything? It's so funny because I'm so used to doing this and you're not anywhere around me. But anyway, go ahead.
So Rhonda's saying electronics can be so frustrating.
Too true.
And Judith thinks you deserve glitter.
I definitely, Judith. Don't you think? I think you might deserve glitter too.
And Maggie's just saying good morning and are you on the computer?
I am on the computer. Yes, Maggie. I'm actually on Chris's computer. I'm not in Chris's chair because Chris's chair is far too low and comfortable for me. So I'm sitting here on a actually a very nice little Victorian chair, if you really want to know, a little Victorian dining chair or parlor chair. It's a parlor chair. Anyway, so enough of this ridiculous, nonsensical, and unnecessary rhetoric that we are engaging in here. I'm going to ask Chris. You'll see her popping in from time to time. She's like how you imagine that you have a fabulous spirit guide on your shoulder. As I not s He doesn't sit on my shoulder, but he stands behind me. Um, or you have a fairy on your shoulder. You like to think of things like that, don't you? And little imps and little, leprechauns that we might have around us. Well, Chris is one of those. I'm not quite sure what we'll call her, but Chris, go for it. Scroll, do whatever you need to do. How are we doing here with the questions?
Well, Andrew says last time you said for story time that you were going to ask what we are all doing.
Go ahead then. Actually forgot that it was story time this morning. I've not even thought of a story this morning. Oh my goodness, did we say we were going to have a story of any kind, Chris? What
I
did we
think it had to do with something
say?
personal to you. They wanted to know your, secrets.
Okay. Once upon a time. This is going to be the most ridiculous story because, hey, it's been a ridiculous morning. Don't expect me to be serious this morning. I'm just really, really grateful that we were able to do this at all. So we're going to be talking of nonsense. Now, cast your minds back, everybody. Did you like the way I said that, Chris?
I did like that.
Cast your minds back, everybody. You think, don't you? You think that I'm going to take you into I don't know, some kind of a wonderland or something, but I'm actually not. I'm going to ask you to really literally cast your minds back. Once upon a time, in the very olden days, as I told my grandson when I was a little girl, I was probably, I went to nursery school from being a baby. And my brother, although I don't remember this, I only know this because he told me about this a few years ago when we were reminiscing. He told me how he used to. It was his job to put me in a pushchair or a stroller or whatever you want to call them. In England, we call them pushchairs. It was his job to put me in the pushchair as a little baby and wheel me to the nursery. So there was a nursery school, they called them in England, where they had babies and then babies grow up. And one of the very clear memories, I don't remember that my brother used to take me, but one of the very clear memories that I have of nursery school, and I would perhaps have been somewhere around 2 or 3 or something like that. We all, at some point in the day, and usually in the morning time, we all had to line up, and there were uh, yes, we had to line up, kid behind kid, etc., etc. And standing in front of us were two teachers. One teacher held a bottle with a spoon, and another teacher held a bottle with a spoon. The one bottle with the spoon was cod liver oil, and she would pour it into the spoon and shove it in our mouths as we got to her. And then we would go to the teacher standing to the side, and she would pour in a dob of orange juice and shove it in our mouths. And we had to do that every day. Now, can you imagine that we're all kids? We're all drinking out of everybody else's spoon. The first person to do it would have been the best, but anyway, mostly, we're all drinking out of each other's spoons. Can you imagine the horror? Are you horrified about that now? We would never let our kids do that, would we? We'd never let our kids sort of, worry about the, you know, you got to wash things, you got to make sure everything is germ free and so on and so forth. But no. So also we would play in the sand pits, and 2 and 3 year olds, have accidents, and we'd still be playing in the sand pit. And so these were my beginnings. Then when I got to be about four or so, four and a half, something like that, I went into the big school with the big kids. It was called junior school. We started junior school at around four or something. And one of my very clear memories, I was about 4.5 years old, and absolutely, completely shocked, terrified when we're all sitting there at our desks, all the kids, and the teacher sitting at her desk, and in through the door walks my mother. She talks to the teacher. Mutters something or another to the teacher, and then she leaves. And then the teacher stands up and she said, "All right, class, be very quiet and pay attention because," and she proceeded to tell the class that they had to be very careful with me. They couldn't push me, they couldn't shove me, they couldn't be mean to me, they couldn't do any of those things that might call a fall or a bang to the head. Because, and remember, I'm sitting there and I don't know what any of this is about. My parents haven't told me a thing. Nobody's mentioned anything to me. Who knew that I was so fragile? Then the teacher proceeded to tell me that, okay, when you're born and you have that sort of the dent in the top of your head. I can't remember what it's called now. Chris, can you remember what it's called?
Fontanelle.
The what? The fontanelle. Anyway, sort of there's a dip, right, in a baby's head, and as they get older and they grow, it sort of the whole thing fills out. Well, apparently at 4.5 years old, my dip had not filled out. Who knew? I knew because the teacher told me. My mother walked in, whispered something to the teacher, walked out, and this is how I'm hearing about me and about my life and about how apparently fragile I am. And all of the kids are looking at me like I've got, oh, I was going to say they were looking at me as if I got a hole in my head. But of course, I apparently did have a hole in my head. Right, you see? Now, so this was the way of it with my family, and probably still is the way of it. As for as long as my parents were alive anyway. They didn't talk to you. They didn't tell you what you needed to know. There was no conversation. There was no, uh, I don't know what the word is. There was no intimacy of any kind. You were just kids. You ate your food and you cleaned what you were supposed to clean, and you went to school and came home and went to bed and so on. And there was nothing in between. And I was listening to Samantha this morning, and Reese, because Samantha makes pancakes for Reese every weekend. She makes a big batch of pancakes because Reese loves pancakes. But they were chatting to each other and they were talking to each other and they were having a conversation with each other. And I remember thinking, that's just how Samantha and I used to be. But when I was a little girl in the very, very olden days, remember, I'm so ancient, we didn't have any kind of conversation. So here I am at 4.5 years old, and apparently none of the kids now want to play with me. Well, why would you? Because if you happen to push or shove, or if you're playing a game of tag, or if you're playing skipping rope, or whatever it is that you're playing, you don't want to be playing with a kid who, if she gets knocked or something, her head might burst open because she's got a hole in her head, right? So consequently, my days at junior school were really sort of lonely. Not only did I have a hole in my head, uh, I also was, we all know how weird I am, right? So it meant that I would stand to the side in the corner of the playground and just watch the other kids playing, and none of the other kids really played with me until I moved into the next class when I was at least 5 or 5.5 years old. And now the reputation follows you, right? Remember that. The reputation follows you. I think I was moved into the next class before all the other kids in my class because they obviously I must have been amazingly bright. They put me in with the older kids. Now, there begins my tale. So I'm going to say to you again as I'm telling you this story, go back, go back, go back in time, go back to your memories. How old were you? Can you remember the first kiss that you ever had? Can you remember the first boyfriend that you ever had? Well, I can remember very, very clearly because when I moved up to the next class, there was this very handsome boy who, for whatever reason, put his arms around me, put his arm around my shoulders and said, "Come on in." And he sat me down next to him. And he proceeded to tell everybody in the class, we were 5 or something at the time, he proceeded to tell everybody in the class that we were girlfriend and boyfriend. And I was so shy and so, I mean, I never would say boo to a goose, as we say in England. I was so shy and so let's say withdrawn in so many ways. And so this handsome boy, his name, what was his name? His name was, maybe still is, oh, well, of course it is, Anthony Booth. Anthony Booth was my very first boyfriend. He nurtured me. He looked after me. If there were problems, he took care of me. I remember once having to go to school. My mother had put some sort of ointment in my eyes and it made me pretty blind actually, and then sent me off to school. And of course, we were doing some writing, and I was writing just like, we would normally. And all of a sudden, my teacher, wonderful teacher, came with her fist and thumped me between my shoulder blades, bang, between my shoulder blades, and started yelling at me because, unbeknownst to me, because I couldn't see, right? Unbeknownst to me, I was writing on over the lines instead of between the lines, and she thumped me between the shoulder blades. It hurt. I do remember that I could barely catch my breath, and she shouted something like, "What do you think you're doing?" or what have you. And a few minutes went by, and Anthony Booth got out of his chair and he went to the teacher and he said, "Excuse me, miss. Rosemary can't see because she's had ointment in her ears." And of course, the teacher said, "Well, she should have told me then." But despite what happened next, despite any of that, it was the very first time in my life that I can remember somebody actually standing up for me. And of course, Anthony Booth was my hero. My next boyfriend was Christopher Hart. I'm ashamed to tell you that Christopher Hart lived sort of where my Auntie Loseby lived. And during the summer months, my mother used to sort of, let's say, put me out to pasture with Auntie Loseby, who wasn't an auntie at all, but my mother paid her to have me for the summer. And it was the best thing my mother ever did for me because Auntie Loseby was fantastic. And Auntie Loseby's son, Uncle Tony, and his wife, Auntie Sheena, you see, I remember them so clearly. These were the highlights of my childhood. These people were the highlights of my childhood. They were the first kind and gentle people that I had ever come across. And it was a whole different neighborhood. And I remember there was a boy at the bottom who lived at the bottom of the hill. His name was Christopher Hart. And I can remember him following me up the hill one day, and his girlfriend at the time was on the other side of the road shouting across to him. And Christopher Hart said to her, "You're not my girlfriend anymore. She is," meaning me. But I already had a boyfriend. But if you remember, I was very shy and didn't say too much. So at one point, I guess I was too timing, not meaning to at all. But when you think back to your childhood and you think back to stuff, there's a tendency, I think, for a lot of us to think back to what was awful about our childhood. And I can remember a lot of awful things about my childhood. But if we think, we start to look back and we start to think of the good things. What were the good things about our childhood? And I can tell you that Anthony Booth was one of the best things in my childhood that ever happened to me. When we moved from junior school at 11 years old into the next school, Anthony Booth went to a different school, and I didn't really see him again until, you did want to know personal stuff, right? Until one day I was 15 years old and I was sitting on the church wall. Yes, I had my own church. You'd sit on the church wall to meet people. So I was sitting on the church wall, waiting to meet my friend Hazel Newman. And I had two friends at that point. I had Barbara Barry and I had Hazel Newman. And I was 15 years old. I was sitting on the church wall waiting for them, and there was a bus stop just sort of a little bit further up from where I was sitting. And the bus pulled up to the bus stop, and there were about, I'm going to say, at least 8 to 10 boys. There must have been around 16 or 17 years old, handsome boys, but remember, I'm very shy. I know it's hard for you to believe this, but I was very shy, very timid, would not argue with anyone or say anything to anyone. I was just very quiet. Because in my house growing up, if you were anything other than quiet, you were stamped on without a doubt. Anyway, so these boys all piled off the bus, a whole lot of them piled off the bus, and they see me, a young girl, quite pretty, and they started to say things in, hey, darling, hey, sweetheart, you know how it is. And, there I am sitting on the church wall, trying to hide, trying to become smaller and smaller and smaller. And suddenly, one voice comes out of the crowd of boys. Leave her alone. And it was said in a very firm, authoritative voice. Every one of those boys stopped, every single one of them. And they walked past me. And I was so shocked. I was so stunned. They walked past me, heads down, respectful. They all walked past. And as they walk past, I'm following them. I'm following to see, wow, what happened. And then this one boy, the boy who had said, leave her alone, he turns his head and he looks over his shoulder and he smiles at me. You've guessed it, haven't you? Anthony Booth. Anthony Booth, my sweetheart. And again, my defender. I've no idea what happened to him. I don't even know if he's still alive. Uh, but if he is listening, or if anyone knows of an Anthony Booth, maybe he's your dad, maybe he's your granddad. I don't know. Whoever he is, wherever he is, if you're listening to this story, you can tell him, Anthony Booth, in my mind, all of these hundreds of years later, is still my hero. I guess one of the reasons I'm telling this story is because I think we all should have a hero. And some of you do. Some of you, you're lucky. Some of you have a dad as a hero or a mum as a hero. I know my daughter considers me her hero. I'm pretty sure Reese considers me his hero and his mum too. I think we should all have a hero, but so many of us don't. We don't get the chance. We're brought up in, uh, uh, circumstances that where we might be pushed down, or we might be downtrodden, or we're not allowed to have a voice, be seen. What was it they used to say about kids? Kids should be seen and not heard, and I don't believe in that at all. But I would love to know from all of you who are listening to this story, boys and girls, young men and old men, young women and old women, Let me know, can you? Do you have a hero? Did you have a hero when you were little? Did you have a hero? Did you need a hero? Did you have a hero who came to you seemingly out of the blue and for whatever reason decided they were going to protect you? They were going to take care of you in some way. So here we have it. Anthony Booth is officially my childhood hero. The end. There you go. What do you think to that story, Chris?
I love that story.
Well, you wanted personal stuff, so now let me see. The next story, do I go back to talking more about my childhood or, well, you see, at the end of this story, I'm what, 15, sort of 16 years old? Or do I go to the next step? Oh, this might get very interesting. We shall see. Let us know what it is you'd like me to talk about. Let us know what it is you would like to know about me on a personal level. Um, I might tell you and I might not. But let me know what is it you'd like. So, Chris, can you see the comments and the anything there? Can you
I can.
can people hear you, Chris?
They'll have to type into the chat room whether they can hear me or not.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the microphone. We can share it. So go ahead.
No, we're good. Judith is saying, let me scroll back up here over here in the chat room. Anthony Booth, your knight in shining armor, your hero. Maggie says, my mom was my hero.
Oh, nice. Nice. Very nice.
Barb says, you're my hero, Rosemary.
Oh, that's so nice. But what about when you were younger, Bob?
And then we have Mikey who says, my mom and grandfather are mine.
Oh, nice. Lovely. I love when it's family. I love when it's family. I never had a hero in my family, although for a short, well, I'm just about to tell another story, but no, we'll leave it. We'll save it for another time.
All right. Then we have Judy saying, my brother is my hero.
Nice. Very nice.
Lorraine says, wow, Anthony Booth, a wonderful boy, definitely an angel. I had my first boyfriend in second grade, Sammy Basta. He befriended me as I too was very quiet, shy, and scared in school. Recently moved to the neighborhood. I will never forget him.
Ooh.
But before that, living in Brooklyn, went to first grade at a Catholic school. And let me tell you, the nuns were crazy.
Yeah, sure.
Girls sat on one side, boys on the other. All erasers were cut off the pencils. Sister Henrietta, warts and all, scary, scary.
What's second grade? How old would she be in second grade? What's second
Probably
grade?
6.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so they can hear me. That's great news. Rhonda says, my husband and I met when we were 16. 44 years later, he is still my hero.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I love that.
And that's all the comments right now, Rosemary.
Okay, but you know the rules, everybody, don't you? You do know the rules. Whenever you stop commenting, we quit because this is an interactive thing. I mean, I'm not here to entertain you. We're here to meet, to discuss, to get together, to do that stuff. So come on, everybody, get going on this. Chris, I'm going to ask you. Can you remember your first boyfriend, Chris?
I was in third grade. His name was Richard. And I also was in a Catholic school. And it tended to be the boys on the playground got to play sports, baseball, and the girls were playing hopscotch and,
Skipping
girly
rope
kinds of
and
things, which I couldn't stand. And so Richard allowed me to go play baseball with all the boys.
a definite hero there. Chris, third grade. What are you in third grade? What age are you there?
Probably 7.
Wow, that was a big deal then.
It was a big
So
deal.
then, did you see him other than playing baseball?
No, not at all.
So you just played baseball with him?
He ended up, we made our first Holy Communion, and he ended up giving me the plaque that the school gave us all, which was, supposed to be very highly religious and sacred, and the best thing you ever had in at that grade. And he gifted me with his first communion plaque.
Wow. He must have really liked Chris. Ooh. All right. So do we have any other comments or questions?
Andrew's saying Anthony Booth, he didn't become an actor, did he?
Yeah, I know there is an Anthony Booth who is an actor, but I'm not sure that it's him. I don't think that it's him because I think he's a little bit too young. But yeah, I know where you're going because I did once try to track down Anthony Booth, and we did come across an Anthony Booth who was an actor. But no, I don't think so. But yeah, um, here's a curiosity for you, right? If you can remember when I first started telling my story, there's a reason why I told you about the hole in my head, right? Uh, I think it's still slightly there. There's still a slight dent. It never fully filled out. Now then, just throwing it out there for you guys, right? When we look at our chakras, our main energy points, the main energy points in our body, uh, there is, of course, what is known as the crown chakra, or that chakra that seats itself way right at the top in the fontanelle, in the right there. Um, it's an energy point. It's an energy center. Is it possible? Could you think it might have had? I've thought about this myself and not really come to too many conclusions. But is it possible that because that part of my head was and still is very, very sensitive, is it possible that that is how I became easily, let's say, connected to, aware of, somehow attuned to the spirit world? There's a question for you, Chris.
I actually thought of that as you were telling your story, saying, I wonder if that's one of the reasons why.
Right, right. Anyway, every little helps, as they say. I don't think it's the only reason, but I have wondered myself, because we talk about chakra points and people like to work on their chakra points, their energy centers. And there are 7. So we start with the top chakra, uh, the the one in the middle of your forehead. It seats itself right behind the pineal gland, and the pineal gland secretes. I've forgotten what it secretes now, but it secretes a certain fluid, which is uh, uh, serotonin. And serotonin is supposed to be able to enhance your sensitivity and your ability to be more aware. What else? I tell you what has serotonin in it. Figs. Uh, Fresh figs have quite a bit of serotonin, and the story of the Buddha who used to sit uh, the Buddha tree, the fig tree. And all day long he would eat figs. In fact, that's all he ate. And he was very wise and very, sort of, he had a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge, and he was very sensitive and very aware. Is that because he ate tons and tons of serotonin? Now, I'm not suggesting you should all go out and buy fresh figs and eat them like that, like they're going out of fashion, because I'm not quite sure it works like that. But serotonin, so the the pineal gland secretes serotonin, which is supposed to sort of, let's say, tweak or make more sensitive this energy center here. Some people call it the third eye or the mystic eye or whatever. Where is so we've got 1 and we've got 2, and now we've come to the throat chakra. Most of us have, at some point or another, felt that throat chakra. When you get a lump in your throat, if you get emotional, you get a bit choked up. People say, I'm feeling choked up. That is when that energy center, that wonderful throat chakra starts to clog, because all of your emotions are clogging it up. So it's sort of, instead of flowing smoothly and emitting energy and drawing energy in, it sort of gets all clogged up because you, for whatever reason, you've become emotional and aware of that throat chakra. So now we go to the heart chakra. So how many have we done? One, two, three, and heart chakra is number four. And a lot of you have also felt the effects of the heart chakra, when the heart chakra sort of stops working properly, or it sort of gets clogged up. And again, it's emotion. Some people have even felt it's as if there's a crack in your heart, a literal tearing or a cracking of the heart when you're in heartache. And a lot of people feel that when your heart seems to be not functioning properly, and it's got nothing to do with physical stuff going on. It's all to do with your energy, and your energy sort of starts to clog up. So there's the heart chakra. And of course, the solar plexus. How many of you have never felt butterflies in your tummy? How many of you have never felt a churning or a sickness in your tummy when you get nervous or worried or afraid or whatever, or excited even? And that is the chakra that seats itself right behind the solar plexus. That's when that starts to, instead of again turning smoothly and easily, it starts to clog up. It starts to, because your emotions again, your energy again, is sort of clogging that solar plexus chakra. So most of you have felt the throat chakra, and the majority of us, of course, have felt the solar plexus chakra. And many of you have been unfortunate enough to really feel that terrible heartache. You've felt that chakra. Then, so that's one, two, three, four. Solar plexus is five. Um, the the next chakra is, as a wonderful student of mine used to put it, seats itself down in the forest. And we know where that might be, right, Chris? You're understanding where that might be. So this is where, we sort of get pleasure from, if we're lucky, we get pleasure from sexual activity. When that energy, that we get that incredible, beautiful burst of energy, that is when our um, that particular chakra is working. Some could say working overtime, and some could say maybe clogging a bit, who knows? But that's when you really feel that chakra working at its best and its most fluid. And the seventh chakra, seats itself literally at the tailbone, or the base of the spine. When all seven chakra points are working and flowing as they should, and flowing freely, we get, it sort of goes, the energy starts to flow through us, and it goes from the tailbone to the forest, to the solar plexus, to the heart, to the throat, to the third eye, and to the crown chakra. And as we're working on this, we visualize that crown chakra opening up, literally opening up, and the energy opening up like the thousand petaled lotus flower. Now, if my hole in the head is causing the least resistance, because it's not yet formed and it's not yet solid or what have you, and it's still soft and tender and so on, how easily it does my lotus flower bloom. Just throwing it out there for you all. Anyway, you see, not only are you getting story time, you're getting a lesson and so on in the chakra. Now, chakra is, let's be clear, chakra is a Hindu word. All it means is spinning wheel. That's it. The interpretation of the word chakra means spinning wheel, and that's what our energy points, our energy centers are about. There are seven main chakra points, but we have trillions of little tiny chakra points or energy centers all over us. Uh, Maybe when we do our next healing session, we'll talk about, oh, the chakra points in our palm centers, and I'll show you how to get those going. Would you like me to do that? Yeah. Okay, then. Well, join us in our next healing session. I'm not sure. Do we have it planned yet, Chris? Is it next week or the week after?
I think it's this coming Wednesday.
Okay, so this coming Wednesday, we don't know the time yet. Go to the website, everybody, rosemaryaltea.com. Go there and check us out. So now, do we have any more questions, Chris?
Well, Rosemary, I think I've seen this everywhere. If you go to some sort of spiritual conference or anything spiritual related, somebody's always trying to sell you something about chakras with specific colors per chakra. Do you want to explain to us your knowledge about that?
Well, it is true that certain colors indicate a certain type and strength of energy. That is true. And when we are healing, I like to use those colors. I like to teach my students how we can best use those colors. But when you start to discover your chakra points, please don't get stuck on the idea that, this one's blue and that one's red and that one's green or whatever, because it is not like that at all. What happens is, as our chakras are opening up and turning as they should be, spinning beautifully nicely, they're drawing in energy and they're expending energy. They're drawing it in and they're expending it out. And consequently, because all of this energy is joined together, you're not looking at one color, you're looking at a myriad of colors. Because energy, if you can imagine, the most powerful energy that we think about is the energy of the sun. The brightest yellow or yellow white. Okay, now if you put a prism, a piece of crystal, anything at all that works as a prism, um, in the windowsill, or if you're wearing a diamond ring and you happen to be driving in the car and the sun hits it, what happens? The light hits the crystal, and the light, it refracts, breaks up the energy into a myriad of different colors. And that these are our chakras, these are our centers. They break up into a myriad of colors, different colors that we can use. We can harness different colors to do different things. We can focus our energy. We can create different types of energy using colors. But anyone who tells you your solar plexus color is red or blue or green or whatever it is they say, not so. Our our energy points, our chakra centers, draw in energy from the universe. They draw in that God energy. They draw in that God force. They draw in the light. And as the light hits the, let's say, the chakra point, the energy center, it refracts that beautiful energy, breaks up into a myriad of colors, just as if your whole body was, let's say, a big fat crystal, or a big fat, often people use pyramids, crystal pyramids and so on, because they think you're going to get more or different or better. But no, light refracts through the prism, and bingo, wow, immense colors. Just saying. Chris.
So, Rosemary, how do you see emotions in people when you give healing? Are there specific colors to emotions or what traumas the person is going through?
Well, yes. I mean, I can see people's auras and the energy field that surrounds them. And a person who can see auras, as I do, when we're talking about an aura, we're talking about seeing the energy of the person, which, as I've just said to you, is refracted into many, many multicolors, right? So a person who sees a person's energy or a person's aura will be able to know instantly through shade and shadow and dark and light, and how bright or how dull. There are lots of different things that you can see to see a person's state of health, a person's state of mind, uh, a certain state of spirit. We can see if the spirit is depleted. And when we're giving healing, what we do as we're giving healing, we're not initially giving healing to the physical self, we're giving healing to the soul, because the soul is what gives us life and light and joy and beauty, and we are our soul. Our soul is our being. The people say to me, what, well, is the soul and the spirit the same thing? No. Yes and no. Because the spirit, when we refer to the spirit, we're referring to the aura or the energy field that surrounds the soul. So when I can look at a person's aura or soul aura, I'm looking at a person's spirit, and I can see, and you can see when people are able to see these things. And many people do it naturally, and some people have to work at it and work to explore what they can see and so on. But when you are able to see a person's aura, a person's energy field, you can literally tell immediately if they're having issues, what kind of issues. Of course, if you're like me, I also have grey eagle whispering in my ear, so I kind of cheat a bit, don't I? But so yes, but you can see just by looking at a person. Um, and also, let's not discount, let's move away for a minute from the spiritual if we can, because we can never really move away from the spiritual stuff, can we? But a person's body language can tell you a lot also. If a person is walking about and their shoulders are slumped, or their head is down, or they have sort of a, dullish eye glow, you can tell by that as well. You just have to be sensitive and be aware.
So Andrew's asking a question.
Yep.
Rosemary, can you see someone's aura via a Zoom
Yeah.
consultation?
Yeah, because I'm not seeing I'm not seeing with the camera. I'm seeing with every part of me. I'm seeing with every one of my senses as I'm talking to someone. If let's say I'm doing a consultation, that consultation could be on the phone, which is what I used to do for years and years and years, talking to people all over the world. I mean, talking to people in California when I was in England, talking to people in China, talking to people in Timbuktu, wherever. You you use the phone so that people can hear what you're saying to you, but you don't need the phone to see and to hear and to be aware and to talk to the spirit world. Yes, so we used to use the phone, and then now, of course, we use all kinds. We're using Restream at the moment. We can use Zoom. We can use whatever, Messenger, whatever we use. People use different things, but when a person like me is, if I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking beyond you. I'm looking around you. And I'm looking. It's we're talking about the rainbow song all over again. Listen with your eyes and sing everything you see. And how can you possibly listen with your eyes? You listen with your ears, but no, you listen with your eyes, with your ears, with every one of your five senses. That's how you're listening, and you're tuning into the person. And so whether you can see them clearly on camera, whether they're wearing a mask, whether they're wearing a blonde wig, or doesn't matter what disguise somebody puts on, because as we in our mediumship work, we see people as they really are, and we're able to tell them. And of course, I use Grey Eagle. He explains things to me. He can, if I don't quite get the clear picture, he can put me straight. He can say, no, I don't think you're seeing blue, Rosemary. I think you're seeing more of a greenish blue. Okay, we work together, he and I, and it's got nothing to do with seeing the person. In fact, when I'm on uh, a consultation with someone on camera, one of the things I insist on saying to them is, okay, please don't nod at me as I'm talking to you. Don't nod at me. Don't think if I say something that you agree with, don't do that. I need to hear your voice. And I tell them I need to hear your voice for two reasons. The first, of course, is for their loved ones in the spirit world to connect with their vibration, a vibrational level. And remember, when people talk to me in the spirit world, they don't know me and they're going to tell me all sorts of personal things about you. But why would they? But when they hear your voice and they connect with your voice vibration, yes, that encourages them to talk more to me, a total stranger. So that's one reason why I say to people, you don't nod at me, because and the second reason is, don't nod at me because I won't be looking at you. I'm looking at whoever it is in the spirit world is. And if I have to break off talking to them to look at you to see if you understand what I'm saying, it takes time away from what we're going to do. So I need your voice. I don't need people to look at me. I don't need to look at the person I'm talking to. I'm too busy talking to and looking at their loved ones in the spirit world. Geez, am I making any kind of sense? Am I making any kind of sense here, Chris? Let's go to another
I think you
question.
are, but we're coming right up at time.
Okay.
Do you want any other comments or questions?
Are there any? Yes, because we were a little bit late. We were a tiny bit delayed here. Yes.
All right. Rhonda says, when I was a child, I was incredibly shy and always walked with my head down.
Me too.
I found a lot of money that way.
No.
Now I walk with my head up. I'm not afraid and not shy.
Oh, Rhonda, that's fantastic. I love that.
Annika says, I like the expression, we see them as they are. Does that go for our loved ones in spirit?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. No one can hide. No one can hide. When one of the maybe difficult things for us to sort of get over, perhaps, or we find hard with, is that, we're walking around as human beings. We smile at people, even if we don't like them. We say good morning to them. We smile at them. Nobody can see what's going on inside of us. We can hide our emotions. We can hide our thoughts. We can hide our feelings. Well, guess what, everybody? Get ready, because there's nothing you can hide once you've passed into the spirit world. All is revealed. Oh, are you worried? Are you trembling now?
Lorraine is saying something similar. You and Gray Eagle can see us, sense us. That ask questions through the chat. Is that right?
We can see those of you who ask questions. Yes, if we're looking, yes. I have to say that I'm not necessarily looking at any of you as individuals, but if you were to come to me for a consultation, of course, obviously, that's what we do. We're looking. But when you're just, chatting, if Chris reads the chat to me, I might take a little peek. Yes, I might. Yeah, I do it often because I'm just a nosy person. I think that one of the reasons why I'm so good at this, and I know I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but I'm so good at it because I'm just so darn nosy. I'm so curious about people. I love people. I have a curiosity about people. And so, uh, if I say to my students all the time, if you see someone in the spirit world, most people, they look and they can't believe it. And they don't say anything at all. They just look and are a little stunned. And I'll say, don't get over that quickly. My inclination when I see someone, and always has been, is who are you and what do you want? So, because I'm a nosy person, I'm just a curious person. Chris, how are we doing? Any more comments or questions?
There aren't any more. Everybody's agreeing with you, though. All the comments, they're saying it makes total sense,
Great.
obviously, etc., etc. Andrew says, I always say, if you don't blow your own trumpet, who will?
Who will? Well, yes, but I would suggest fine, blow your own trumpet, but make sure that what you're saying is accurate, or what it is that you feel, because uh, nobody likes a braggart either, do they? So I hope I'm not coming across as a braggart. I'm just coming across as a person who just loves my job, and I love being able to do it and to do it well. Anyway, that's it for now, everybody. I'm so sorry. It's gone so quickly. I'd like to say thank you, particularly to Chris, because boy, it was so. I found it so frustrating this morning, so irritating. But look, we produced a fabulous show. We've had some fabulous people talking to us. So thank you all. Thank you very much for being patient with us. Thank you all for joining us. We love, love, love having you with us. I'd like to say thank you to Chris. Of course, I'm not usually this close to you when I say thank you to you, but anyway, thanks. This might mean I have to make her a nice lunch or so, I don't know, or something. Anyway, we don't even know what we're doing the rest of the
No, we
day,
don't.
do we? So we've got to figure that out. Of course, um, by no means least, but last, I'd like to say thank you to Grey Eagle, who is always with us and always striving to bring us fabulous and incredible and new inspiration. So we hope you've learned a little bit this morning as well as enjoying the story time. All right, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on anywhere at all. You can find us. We're all over the place here. We're on social media. We're all over social media. Anyway, so if you want to know more about us, or if you want to put in a request, or if you want to say, Rosemary, can you tell us about when you were 40 or 50, or of course I can't go much further than that, can I? If you want to tell us, if you want to hear more personal stories, let us know. You can email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or you can just simply email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Chris gets it anyway. She's the one who answers all the emails, and she does a brilliant job. If you want to know more about what we do, I'm going to suggest you go to our website, rosemaryaltea.com, because there are all sorts of things going on there. We are going to be doing a new bottom brick in the next week or so. We already have a volunteer for that. So that should be fun. We will be doing some off the coast. We haven't done off the coast for ages. We don't know how many of you saw our show last night, but cracking up. But if you want to find it, go to YouTube. You'll find it on YouTube. Just put in my name and you'll see all sorts of things coming up. We had a great time with K and K, yes, and RA in the middle. So that's where we get the cracking up from. Yeah, we had a fun time. Even though the internet was odd and down, people still stuck with us. You were amazing. You're an amazing group of people. We love you, love you, love you. So, thank you for joining us this morning. Until I see you all again, please, 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 everybody, have a very, very blessed rest of the day and a very blessed rest of the weekend, everybody. Bye bye.